one of the things that I really appreciated as a student was it was, and I can't remember who it was who said it to me, but just go and see practice with as many different dog trainers as possible because you'll always learn something, even if it's you don't want to do it that way. And if people need that exposure. But again, this whole idea that sort of, well, you don't agree with me, I'm going to unfriend you. I don't want to hear from you. It is so unhealthy. And this is sort of what I wanted out of these conversations. Is they're conversations, and you know, we don't know everything. We can have opinions and we can discuss ideas and we can try and move forward and think, okay, what is it we need to know or what's the best way to actually proceed? But everybody wants sort of, as you said, what's going to be on the exam? Tell me what's going to be on the exam because I need to pass the exam. Now, fortunately, on the master's program we run, like you say, everybody on that master's program wants to do behavior modification, so they're an absolute joy to work with. But it's really difficult, I think, with trying to just get making the best of what is out there. As you say, there's some absolute sort of gold dust there as well, but so much of it is unhealthy. But anyway, that's got a bit deep.
And I think, I look on it as this is a great opportunity for your students to create Gold Dusk by doing very simple studies on dog training. So let's say it's time and trials to criterion. I'll design some studies right now. We do either have a class of 12 dogs or we have one dog at a time. We have a 50-minute training session with them. We test him beforehand and at the end. So it's test, train, test, using each dog as its own control. We're going to graph it out in histograms. So see if there are daylight between the two populations.
I'm going to jump in at this point because I've got somebody who is a really good trainer who's contacted me who wants to do a PhD with me, and I've said we're going to do something on training. So you might end up being co-author or co-supervisor on this student.
No, I'd love to, because the nitty gritty is, time and trials to criterion. What is the quickest, most effective way to teach, to heel off leash, to 1 minute sit stay, 3 minute down stay, position changes, sit down sit, stand down stand, or randomize 3 positions, which is 6 different position changes, and then absolutely quantifying them. And when I did, I've been trying to get people to do this for years. I mean, for 10 years, it never happened. And with the APDT, I said, we've got to have a science track because it's so boring. It's always the same speakers talking about the same stuff, but there's no demonstrations. It's talk, 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 talk. What we should see is video of training with proof that this dog's behavior was changed due to this training. And I said, it's the easiest thing and the most worthwhile thing to do experiments on. But as soon as we get into, and it's why I started the APDT Foundation, to give money prizes for research done. Instead, what they're doing is they're giving grants to institutions beforehand. I didn't want that. I wanted training done by dog trainers. They've done the study. They have a poster board, and the winning poster board gets $5,000, let's say. But anyway, it's still up and running, the APDT Foundation. But we've never got this going.
It's a real shame.
They always want to go into researching shelters or cognition. You'll never get a p-value with cognition. I mean, let's be realistic.
It's tough, but it's interesting because I know, and this might sound a bit strange because, I mean, I'm sort of thinking, I'm starting to think about my retirement. I'm thinking, well, how much do I actually? Yeah, how much do I? Well, I'm getting near to mid-50s now, and I'm thinking, how much do I need to actually live on, and what are the things I actually want to do? And yeah, exactly. And these are some of the things sort of trying to reach out. And one of the things I would like to do, and this is typical me. Now I go and say something, and I think, like, okay, now it's now I'm committed to doing it. It's like, oh, let's do a podcast. Thomas says,
Yeah.
great idea. Right. Okay. How the hell do you do a podcast? I said, it's easy. You just do this. So, but yeah, trying to get networks of trainers who will, just record what they're doing. I'm trying to do the same with people dealing with problem behavior in order to try and do some trials. And it just reminds me that, people can be very intimidated by research. And um, I, one of those sort of really weird things that I found out that somebody that had been to a couple of my talks, she seemed to like what I do, and she got a puppy and she called it Professor Spaniel Mills. I thought, I thought, there we go. Now that beats the PhD, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I saw her at one of the meetings, and I said, "I've heard that you've done this," and she was quite embarrassed. And she said, "Oh, do you mind?" I said, "No, I think it's really cool." I said, "I just want a copy of its Kennel Club registration, so I've got it on my wall at work." This beautiful little spaniel, and she was doing an online course, and I said, "Well, if you want some help, I'll do it." And this is the thing, she was trained, and she's saying, "Well, I'm not a great scientist," and I'll give a name, Greta Ford. I'll have to tell her to go and listen to this one. And she was a trainer, and I said, "Look, science isn't difficult. All it is about a good experiment is about having a simple question that can be answered with data." And we've done the stuff, on dogs, recognition of emotion in people, and angry faces versus happy faces, and there was all the stuff on pointing as well. And we said, well, everybody who and going back to your cognition work, when they do the pointing experiments, you point in one direction and the food is in the other direction, the dog follows the point. But the person has got, they say, has a neutral face. And this is, again, the thing that I struggle with. What the heck is a neutral face to a dog? There isn't such a thing. It's weird. A neutral face is that you're either happy or you're angry with your dog, and so we did this pointing with neutral, happy, and angry, and the head turn. So we pointed in one direction and you looked in the other direction. And the question was, how did it actually affect? And because she was a dog trainer, she went off and she got 63 dogs trained, in about 3 weeks' time. I said, right, okay, we're going to write this up and whatever. And we got the paper, the
Yeah.
publication. I've now got the photo not only of her puppy, but also her puppy with its paper publication. And I think, trainers can do so much. They could do so much to just help move the field on. And
They
that's
could.
one of the things I'd like to try and do is, as I said, if I do take partial retirement or whatever in the next few years, I don't know. Just try and convince people that research isn't difficult and whatever. You just have to be able to follow the instructions. If you can bake a cake, uh, you know, you can do science. It's really not difficult. But
Yeah, I think when you ask the initial question, and so we have to define asking a question for people. It's usually a single sentence that begins with a word, when, what, how, when, or why. The neat thing about dog training, because a lot of science questions would be like start with the word does this happen, or what have you. In dog training, we know it's going to happen. So every research question for a study starts with the word how. How much can I improve a sit stay in 50 minutes? How much can I improve a recall? Because we know the behavior change is going to be colossal. So the question is, how much is the change going to be? So like recalls, I love it. A dog park recall. I love going in the dog park with an absolutely untrained dog and have the owner or myself ask it to come, say 20 times in a row. And so we get that on tape, and then we train a perfect dog park recall on the dog. Once we've have proof, it doesn't know it. And it's just a fascinating technique, but it works with 95% of dogs in one session when you do it right.
yeah,
And I actually did it on TV, which, oh God, I should put that off my website. Have it on, I forgot that. It was one of the, I was in Japan. In Japan, I'm so well known. It's amazing. People in the States barely know me unless they're in the doggy world. They still know me, older people from England, because of the telly program. But in Japan, I was on the most popular TV program ever recorded in Japan. And my fans include the emperor, you know, last time I
Well,
was
this is a
there.
real connection because the podcast with Kathy, she grew up riding the Emperor's horses because her father was
Oh, really?
based there. Yeah. So,
Oh,
so,
wow.
so I'm gonna have to find out from the Hearts what their
Oh,
connection with the
he
Emperor
was
of.
a veterinarian, was he then?
No, he was in the army, and
Ah,
so they
yeah.
were over there, after the surrender.
Because I used to know the old emperors. Well, I still know the old emperors, veterinarians.
Yeah.
That's how I got to know the present, or used to be the prince and princess, now the present
Mm.
emperor. Anyway, I don't even
And
know what we
yeah,
were talking.
yeah. Sorry, you
Oh, yes, no, this
most
TV.
popular TV program in Japan. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't me. It was the producer and the host. The hosts were a pop group called Tokyo. So they were all young, handsome guys. But they came up with this idea of a premise for a Christmas show, 2-hour Christmas show on dog training, with me as the dog trainer and the various band members being my assistants. So they all wore like jumpsuits saying Dunbar dog training on. And then one of them, he was an amazing guy. He had the ability of taking any dog and bringing out the worst in it. Everything he did with animals was wrong, you know. Like he could get the most stable dog to growl at him, or a peaceful old Bernese to pull him along the street on his back. So it was great. He would go in and get the bad footage, then I would come in and solve it. And I remember we went to this place, a Doberman, a beautiful apartment. It was huge, obviously very rich people. It's a Russian model and an IT person, I think, with the couple. They had a baby. The dog had destroyed it. So I go in and they say, well, if we tried this, and I had a Kong and stuffed the Kong, the dog's watching me. So he ends up staying after attempting to steal it a few times. I said, excuse me. So he's sitting and watching me, and I give him the Kong and he lies down and chews it. I said, well, that's it. So we kind of wrap early because how long can you film a dog lying down chewing a Kong, And I'd really stuffed it with a lot of intellect, pretty sneaky. So then they said, well, let's wrap and get together tomorrow for the park. So I said, okay, I was happy to be let off. So I said, what time is it tomorrow? They said 6 o'clock. I'm like, oh, no. I just don't do mornings. By mornings, I mean anything before noon. I hate it.
Thank you for
So
getting up early today, then.
yeah, but I thought, oh well, it'll be this Doberman and dog park. Most Japanese dog parks are the size of dining room tables. I get there, it's about 2 acres. This park, long and thin. I'm like, oh. So I say to them, well, how many times have you been to the park? And they said, well, never. I said, well, how many times has the dog been off leash? They said, oh, never. And they want me to train this 2-year-old Doberman in the park. So we did this, the dog park recall routine. And we let him off leash and we try and catch him. It's so, the footage is lovely. She's like tossing the baby like a rugby football to the guy as she dives after it. She's a real actress, the Russian model. And then we watch this dog and he's running the length of the park. It was several hundred yards. It's long and thin. He looked like a gazelle, like doing, doing, doing. I'm free, I'm free. He's obviously never been free. So I said, right, I'm going to take a break and go find coffee. And actually, I wanted coffee and a toilet. It's very early in the morning. And if someone's here watching the dogs, camera crew, they said, what do you mean you leave? I said, well, nothing's going to happen for half an hour. If you want to film me trying to catch this dog, you can do that, but I'm not going to do it. You can film the owners trying to catch the dog, but they won't. So I go and get coffee and go to the bathroom and I come back and say, right, let's start training. So now the dog's still flying by like this, So I'm trying to get his attention. I say, yo, Dobie, and tossing a treat. Well, he's oblivious. But this little beagle sees it. And he sees this treat. And being a beagle, he's watching trajectory, land, comes up, sniffs, finds it, then looks up at me and trots over. So I thought, well, I'm bored. I start training the beagle, right? Come, sit, good boy, stay, down, sit, roll over, good boy. And the Doberman runs by and he sees us out the corner of his eye because I'm making a big deal. Good boy, have a treat. Why don't you have whatever his name was, Saxon's treat? I keep saying it. He's looking at me like this. And that's it. We've got him now. So he comes in, and as soon as and the technique is As soon as they come in, you don't make any grabs. You wrap them around your body so they lean against your side with his collar, feed a treat, another treat, another treat. Then you grab the collar and you say, gotcha, treat, 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 and you run away.
Mm.
And with most dogs, they run after you. Then
Yeah.
you stand still and you've done it. So now, because the secret is come here, take the collar, give a treat, go play.
Mm.
You've got to give them the confidence to go play. So that was the first time I did it. But anyway, quantifying that,
Yeah.
it's wonderful. And I want to have a trainer who does it and says, here's what I did to these 12 dogs, sit stays and down stays in 40 minutes each. Here's what I did. Look at the two histograms. Yeah, of course it's statistically reliable. There's daylight,
Mm.
the intraocular traumatic test between the two populations, beautiful inverted bell curves. And so there you go. Can anyone do better?
Yeah. No, I think
Because,
there's so much.
here's the point, because some can. Most people will look at this and think, oh my word, how did they do that? I want to know what they did. And some people will say, I'm going to give that a go. And they produce better results. So who do we want to listen to now? Do you get it?
Yeah.
We would then know who we want to listen to learn how to train a dog. It's so easy, but no one has done it. And I did this study years ago. I'm going to republish it online for people to look at how easy it is. And I want other people to do it because I had several mistakes in the study. Like one stupid, this was a puppy class. Week 1, we did the test. Week 6, we did the test. But in the cumulative score, I had handling. Well, everything improves. You see, handling will get worse. As it happened, our handling score stayed the same, but that was a big part of the score that stayed the same. Puppies are easy to handle, or we maintained that ease to handle in adult dogs, and that was stupid. It should have been just on recalls, healing, off take it, thank you, sit, stay, down, stay, stand, stay, and position changes. And the first student to do this, so sadly, you're coming to the end of a long career, Danny. You're in the sunset years now of your career. You're too old to do this. But for a student, the first student to produce studies on dog training will become so famous. They will be lecturing all over the world at the various APDTs in Australia, in Japan, in France, in the US, in Canada, you know,
So
all of which I helped set up.
this is
And they'll become famous.
yeah. So this was part of the idea behind this student, and as I said, he wants to do it self-funding, and hopefully he still wants to do it, but you never know. And I said to him, one of the issues is all the stuff we do on learning theory and stuff like that is based on rats kept in isolation in boxes where
Yeah.
there's no distractions. That the average training class has got half a dozen other dogs there or more, and we know there's some really nice literature on dog sensitivity to reward inequity. So you train a dog with one treat, and the dog learns the task. You train another dog with 3 treats, then you bring them together, and guess what? The dog who gets 1 treat suddenly says, "Stuff that! I'm not going to do this anymore." If he's getting 3 treats, and nobody's looked at any of this stuff
Mm-hmm.
in a training context. And you just think, well, this is what's going on in every training class, and we really need to do it. So yeah, and I said to him, if you do this, you will. He's a good trainer, and I hope he still wants to do it. Because yeah, I agree with you. I think this is just it's the right time now, and as you say, with the media being able to, you'll be recording all your trials anyway because you'll be measuring them. You'll be able to put everything out there for everybody.